الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. It's been almost 2 months since we last gathered in this atmosphere, this blessed place, the familiar faces. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward those who came back, because it is not easy after interruption to catch the energy full-fledged as it used to be. You know, it will take time, but I trust that inshallah we will resume this energy soon. However, there are two things we want to consider as we are going to get back to that full energy. Number one, and this is where I need your input, not the shy input. You know, this is what a shy input looks like. If I ask for, you know, just like this, but an enthusiastic input is like this. Okay, so if I ask you a question, how will you answer me? Will you do this or will you do that? MashaAllah. What about the person in purple? How will you respond? Yeah, you almost said this. I said no. Okay, it'll be like this, right? Okay. Now the first thing I need your input about next week in London, right here at the Masjid on Oxford Street, there is a youth conference. Youth conference, which means that all young people like yourself, okay, will be attending, inshallah. Okay, so I expect that many of you would be going. Now, how many are going to attend the youth conference? MashaAllah. The youth conference, okay. Now, how many will be coming here next? I'm not trying to, by the way, because I prefer that the youth will go to where the youth conference is, even though we are talking about challenges facing Muslim youth in today's, you know, world. But just basically to be fair to everybody, because we want to know whether to meet next week or meet the week after that. But I don't like so many interruptions. Okay, so how many will be coming next week, inshallah? Inshallah.
Can we make it for parents, so that's our chance?
What a great idea. Can we make it for, well, you know, parents and those who would like to come, but let's make it for parents, inshallah, to discuss issues that parents are concerned about. Brother Mir, is this a good suggestion?
Actually, parents are also in part of that.
Oh, parents are part of the conference as well. So, what a spoiler. Okay.
Can we adjust the time, like to make it before or after, or adjusting the...
No, the conference is the entire day.
For the whole day?
Yes, yes. So, I need some input from the floor. What would you suggest?
Sorry,
A day.
how many parents will join the conference?
All of the parents.
Okay, how many parents will come here, let's say? Okay, how many parents will come? You know what? You know what? I will be, inshallah, available. Okay? Those who would like to go are encouraged to go. Those who feel strongly about a consultation session where we will talk about core issues, okay, are welcome to come. And since it will be recorded, people may, you know, check the material on YouTube, inshallah. Is that fair enough? So there will be a session next week. That will lead us to the second point that I wanted to discuss, and that is the timing of the session. Because for a few weeks, Salat al-Dhuhr will be at 1 o'clock because of the time advance for Salat al-Dhuhr. Now, if it is at 1 o'clock, it means that we will be starting at 1:15. But that doesn't mean that you skip Dhuhr here and come late, and no. Actually, it's a beautiful thing that we start with Salat al-Dhuhr and then we move into our session, strong with the iman from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so inshallah, we will start Dhuhr at 1 and then we will continue till 6 o'clock in the afternoon, inshallah. You like that, Najib? So, okay, this is the second thing. Now, I have a practical test, okay? Do you mind if I ask you a question? You mind? Okay, if you stand up and say something about something, and then if I come to you and say, what you said was wonderful, how would you feel?
Good.
Just good? Just good? Happy? If this happened to you, how would you feel? No, by the way, great answer, okay? How would you feel?
Jazakallah.
You'll be happy? You'll be happy. How would you feel? No, yeah, junior. How would you feel?
I feel good about myself.
You feel good. You feel proud of yourself. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. What if, no, look at me. Okay. What if you say something and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, what you said is the best. How would you feel? I'm saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How would you feel? Will you feel good? No, it seems that today I'm going to have a monologue, nobody is willing to talk, and I don't like that. Answer me. How would you feel if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell you what you said is amazing and I'm happy with you? You will feel good, right? You will feel good? You're sure? Okay. Well then, let me tell you something. And this is the practical test for all of you. See how many empty chairs there are? I want each one to do something that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will fill as many chairs as possible next week and the week after, inshallah. Can I tell you what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says? Literally, He says, who is better than him or her who called others to come for being mindful of Allah, called people for the path of Allah, told them, come, there is something that pleases Allah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. I'd like you to come, we missed you. You used to come in December, November. Now we would like you to come. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Fussilat. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and did good deeds. وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. We are Muslims. We need to call each other for that which is good. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 37 of Surah Fussilat. Okay? Will you call people next week and tell them, Allah will be happy with you? Would you like Allah to be happy with you?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. What about you? Will you do that? You want Allah to be happy with you? Would you do that? Inshallah. So you will call your friends, everybody, call their friends, tell them, we want the chairs to be filled because we had 2 months interruption. We understand, this is human, Okay, so we will call everybody to come back, inshallah. Did we establish that? Inshallah, because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Now, since we last met, something disturbing happened. I'm going to ask, to see if somebody is on the same wavelength like me. Something happened that really disturbed you, that you weren't happy about, other than the second anniversary, remembering the 6 people who died because somebody decided that I don't like them, praying at the mosque in Quebec. We know that, what date that happened. Because we should, the same as, if I ask you, do you know what September 11th is all about? No, I'm talking to you. Yes, yeah. You know what September 11th, right?
Yeah.
When they made us believe that something happened, and you know that, okay? Is there anybody who doesn't know, 9/11? 9/11? Everybody knows 9/11. So, what's the date that, our peacefulness was shaken in Quebec? I want everybody to remember that date. Yes.
For the January 26th?
January, can you turn the 6 into a 9?
January 29th.
MashaAllah! She turned it for you. She said January. Is he your brother?
No.
She said that. No. Why are you scared? It's okay. He's your brother in Islam, right? Is she your sister?
Yes.
No, he's scared now to answer. Anyway, we are all brothers and sisters in Islam. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. January 29th, 2018. Don't forget. But there's something that really disturbed me. I'm sure it disturbed others as well. Let me see. Since we last met, something happened.
I think 2017.
What?
2017.
Was it 2017?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 years ago.
Sorry. 2017. Something happened. Anybody? Nothing disturbed you? But I'm sure that Brother Mir knows because we're always on the same wavelength. I know that. But wallahi, we didn't talk. We did not talk. Okay? Because I'd like others to really try to remember something that really disturbed you. You heard it on the news, you said, oh, that's shameful. Wish never happened. And it's related to our identity, who we are. I'm giving you some hints. Something that says who we are, but somebody broke that identity so lightly. That's another big hint. Shall we let Uncle Mir tell us what disturbed him?
Maybe I was thinking about something. It's about the leniency with which the judge passed the judgment on the killer at the mosque.
But something else I have about identity. How someone tossed identity through the window. I'm sure. Yes, I think you know.
The Syrian refugees?
Huh?
The Syrian refugees.
The Syrian refugees, what about them? No.
I think Saudi women can.
The answer is exactly what I'm thinking about. I was very disturbed. The story of that teenager who landed in Canada, and she was welcomed officially by the
Trudeau. Justin Trudeau.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, and she was welcomed. Nothing wrong in welcoming any person who comes to Canada, but I felt that there was something beyond just welcoming a refugee, someone who sought political asylum or sought asylum in Canada. Canada is a welcoming country, But very quickly, pictures were taken of that girl who took off her hijab, changed her style of clothing, ate what she wasn't supposed to eat, drank what she wasn't supposed to drink, and denounced her Islamic identity. That was a message that was sent, covered with seemingly a beautiful cover that Canada, look how Canada really takes care of others, because human rights are so important to us. We don't believe in family abuse. We don't believe either. We don't believe either. We don't like to hear that a child-parent's relationship is unstable. We don't like it. That's why we are talking about these things. And yes?
We still don't know the other side of the story.
Exactly. We heard it from, those who really emphasized that, look, being a Muslim made her run away from that cage into freedom. As if to say, a message was sent to the world that Islam is captivity, and I don't know what they mean by Canadian standards. I have Canadian standards. You have Canadian standards. We all have Canadian standards. But why eating pork would really make any difference to my values as a Canadian? Why? Why getting dressed in a certain way would send a message to the world that now I'm free? That I didn't like. I really felt that was the wrong message to be sent to the world. And I feel that an Islamic identity is so important for us to preserve, so much so that in the ayah that I just quoted from Surah Fussilat at the beginning, look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, 3 things. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I am a Muslim. Allah said that Allah is pleased a lot of her or him who does 3 things. Look at this. Who calls people to Islam, not necessarily by giving speeches, we said that before. Who calls people to Islam by their behavior. And number 2, will do good deeds so that people will appreciate what Islam is all about. And number 3, will say, I am a Muslim. Not necessarily walking among people in the mall and saying, excuse me, I'm a Muslim. Excuse me, if you do that, they will take you to St. Thomas. Not that St. Thomas is a place for crazy people, no, but there is a hospital.
I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
While this girl went away from Islam to wherever she is, there's one man who hated Islam, and he said Islam is the disease of the world. And he became a Muslim, an European parliamentarian.
For every case like this, there are many others that come to surprise those who say, how come? But it goes to, help me, I was about to say it goes on to prove that what Allah said is the truth. But the word to prove, we don't need to prove what Allah says is the truth. We don't need to prove it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, okay, that don't wish for people to become Muslims, because Allah will make Muslims those who wish to become Muslims. Allah will make it happen. Allah will make it happen. So you may just go and try By the way, is the person who called me for the lecture present here today? Now, she may be coming. You know, I was just sitting with Brother Michael Kirby, who has been a Muslim for a year and a half, when I received a phone call from a woman who said, I want to give my shahada, can I do it today? I said, sure. From what time? I said, we're here from 1 till 2, so she may still come, okay? And we can welcome her to do that. It's you know, it happens so spontaneously, but the thing is, I was discussing with Michael, I don't know, some of you might have met Michael. He's the older man, 74 years old, who became a Muslim a year and a half ago, and he made a proposal to provide support for new. He said, you know, I need support. And I discovered that others who are younger than me are lapsing. They are just basically, they come to Islam, no support, they leave. Which is not right. You know, we as a community shouldn't just get excited and say, Takbir, Allahu Akbar, get excited, and then let that person struggle. That's not right. We need to provide, and that inshallah will happen, bi'iznihi ta'ala. So therefore, we really need to, you know, continue to nourish this identity of al-Islam and be proud of it. So can somebody say something about how they feel if people, you know, would attack her or his identity in a certain way? You know, I'd like to hear comments from you, basically. Don't let me do all the talking. Okay, I'm sure that some thoughts came to your mind as I was talking. You know, I don't want to continue being the only one. How do you feel about you being identified openly, honestly? You don't say, oh, I feel very good. Okay, when inside, you may say, you know, I don't like it very much because, you know, people will, you know, talk to me in a certain way. Can somebody comment on that? Any? Yes.
I would be worried how my friends would see me in a different way.
How do they see you now?
Like if someone to break my identity.
Okay. Now, do you tell them during Ramadan that you are fasting?
Yeah.
You do tell them? And any comments that you didn't think were very kind? You know, some people said, oh, come on, you starve yourself for no reason, you know, don't you get thirsty? And then,
No, not really, but there were some people who were going like, here, have a drink.
yes. And what else do people experience when it comes to their, you know, to their identity as a Muslim? Yes.
I think we're really privileged to live in this country because there's a lot of awareness about it. My school especially is very good because we have a huge Muslim population. But
Which school do you go to?
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge.
But there's still a lot of ignorance, so you will hear a lot of jokes that might seem rude at first. But when you have the knowledge and the right response to those questions, then people don't really pursue it from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be knowledgeable to like counter those.
Do you promise to give me the right response?
You always have to say you don't know if you don't know the answer. Like you can't.
No, I had another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Promise?
Yeah.
Okay. Percentage-wise, how much knowledgeable are you about Islam?
Islam is a huge topic, not a lot.
Did
Only
someone
one.
before me tell you you are very smart? MashaAllah, you're very smart. But I know, so relatively I'd say, you know, for a person your age, obviously when I asked the question, I meant your age, under your circumstances. See, I think, you know, I just told you, okay, sister, are you the one who just called me? You're the one who just called me? Sister? Are you the one who just called me?
Yes.
Okay. 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 I was just telling everybody about you.
Okay.
Okay. So we will take from here. So someone your age and your circumstance. Were you born in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. Born in Canada, with whatever resources to teach you about Islam, you know, how much you think you know of that?
I think almost like less than 1%, because Islam is huge. Because I can only answer the questions that I've already asked.
Okay.
So that's how I deal with it. So like, because Islam is huge. There's so many different areas and stuff. There's certain areas that I know more about, and there's a lot of areas that I know absolutely nothing about. So like out of 100, like there's not very little.
You said something I would like everybody to understand. I think that's how you meant it. I can only ask the questions that
I can only answer the questions that I've already asked.
you've already asked.
Yeah.
How do you determine your questions? How do you choose your questions?
They're more like lifestyle based. Like for example, things that I already do. Not
This
like
is
things
subtle,
that-
by the way. You know, the reason I asked you to repeat, I was sitting with Michael Kirby, okay, who is a new revert, and he said, since October 17th, 2017, whenever I go to somebody supposedly who knows about Islam, he says, ask me what would you like to know about Islam? And he said, but I don't know what to ask. You know, this is very important, by the way. I don't know what to ask. You know, I want someone to put me in a certain framework, and then I will ask about it. Okay, but ask me. It's like somebody who goes to psychology 101, and the professor starts by saying, okay, the first period, I want everybody to ask me a question about psychology. I don't know where to start, okay? So we really need more to put us in the right frame to educate us about Islam, okay? And that's relevant. I think I will start, you know, you can pick up. By the way, I'd like everybody to meet you. You are?
Chastity.
Chastity, okay. I assume you are the one who wants to become a Muslim today? You're sure?
Of course.
Are you sure? Why does you? Just kidding. Just kidding. We will come to that, inshallah. But it's very, very important. The thing is, if we, second, third generation living in Canada, know, as you said, I will take it a little bit higher than 1%, okay? But I respect the fact that you're not exaggerating, okay? If we know that little, what about those who are not from the Islamic background? How can we blame them? Because people are afraid of what they don't know. I remember, I tell you something, that over 33 years that I practiced dentistry, the patients who were afraid of the needle, you know, they would sit and they must have heard somebody telling them about how painful needles are. Or, is it really painful about root canal? Because people say it's as painful as root canal. Even after root canal became nothing, you don't feel anything, okay? People continue to say it's as painful as root canal. But you've got to break that fear in order to say, oh, who will break that fear? In my case, it was the dentist who had to really, you know, try it first and say, oh, did you finish? Yes, I did. I didn't feel anything. So it's fine. So about Islam, we really need to go out and live Islam proud of our identity, because if you go on a shaky ground and others can tell that you are not so sure about, they'll say, if they are not so sure, you know, keep away from us. We've got to be comfortable, proud of who we are, okay, and just go to the world and let the world discover how beautiful Islam is. I was told, shall I say it now? Yeah, sure, why not? I will say it. I was told by young Muslim girls that there are many Muslim girls who are taking their hijab off. Am I right or right?
You're right.
I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of this,
Yes.
and speaking of identity in general, I'm new to Canada, right? So when I go to school, to high school and even in elementary school, people tend to be ashamed of their identity to the limit that when Dhuhr prayer comes, they just don't pray. And I was very shocked. Like, I was like, this is prayer. This is like one of the main pillars of Islam. How can you give this up that easily? And it's funny how they tend, when you give up something, only one thing, that's when you start giving up everything else, and it becomes really hard to come back, whether strongly or weakly, but it's just kind of hard to still come back to the same person that you were. So speaking of identities, I'm proud that I'm a Muslim, and I'm not afraid to go up there and be like, yes, people, I'm a Muslim, and I'm proud. But when I say that my fellow friends and my colleagues at school, girls and guys, they are just ashamed and they're really shy.
Why do you think is that? Why?
Why? Let me tell you. A, it's peer pressure. Okay? So you see all the people out there, they're doing stuff that you know that they're haram, they're forbidden, you're not supposed to do, and then you're just sitting there. There's a battle between your heart and your mind. Your mind wants to do something, your heart wants to do something else, and then you're just like, I'm confused. Okay? B is that they don't have that connection with Allah. So they don't really tend to, when you have a problem, you're supposed to talk with someone, but I prefer to kind of like do dua or like have that strong connection with Allah and just destroy any barriers,
But I want to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay. MashaAllah, you have parents who did their job. Okay. The majority may not enjoy what you enjoyed so far. Okay.
Exactly.
So you had the support. They were behind you and they continue.
Yeah.
Okay. But there are others who, by the way, and I'm glad that you suggested, my brother, that maybe next week parents should come and let's talk as parents, okay? Because let's face it, if parenting is done part-time, okay, then the outcome is obvious that we'll have problems, but we really need to do parenting full-time, okay? There's especially under the circumstances where the world is boiling now. People are hearing things, say, really, is this going to happen? What's going to happen? What will the future hold? What will this, people are not so sure. So let us at least protect what we can protect, and that is what we have, our families. Families are being attacked. We need to protect our families. This is very, very important. Back to identities. I would like, sorry, I'm going to go to her now, okay? How determined will you be, let's say, if you happen to be listening to a talk show and the topic is about Islam and Muslims and, whatever, and something not right is said about Islam, and that is you. How determined are you to call in and voice your opinion?
Very. I see similar things at school as well, because sometimes someone might be asked a question and I get anxiety because I don't know if they're going to answer it right. I don't know if they're going to say something bad by accident, if they never asked the same question, never got the right answer. So I try to step in somehow, and if I have the answer at least, and try and help. But it's very hard because there's already so many misconceptions about Islam. Whenever you see something small being added to those misconceptions, you really just don't want it to happen.
Okay, Now, how prepared are you, and now I'm looking at you because I know that both of you will make excellent team members, but we need more. I remember, you know, this young man sitting, you know, with the hat, Uncle Mir.
Head dad.
Okay. You know that we used to talk about getting things, you know, scouted through the media, finding out, and then trying to, but then we can't do everything. Okay, how prepared will you be? No. Why did you look like this? Now, I would like those who believe, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. And عَمِلَ صالح means does the right thing. You know, we need to work, we need to act, we need to do something. I need a team of 5 young people who will listen 1 hour to the radio every day, not rock. You know, listen to talk shows, look at the website of Globe and Mail, Toronto Sun, Star, and find out what is being said, not to be paranoid, but to do our work, our job properly, and then, you know, let's have a weekly digest that before I come, you email me, send me something, digest of what happened last week. Internationally, nationally, locally, maybe you can meet and say, okay, I will look for international things. I will look for this, I will look for that. And let's gear our discussions. You know, I was thinking, you know, Brother Mir, honestly, I said, how often have we spoken when we talk about youth challenges, about dating and drinking and smoking and, you know, social pressures? It's about time we grow into another level and talk about what is more of a challenge now than the social things. You know, people think that, oh, we're coming, can you please talk about this and that? We've talked about it, and we will talk about it, but I would like us every now and then to talk about, you know, the real challenges. So you are willing, don't say no, because I will.
never said no.
Hmm?
I didn't say no.
Okay, and your cousin will say yes. Okay. Wallahi, I did not know that Mir is your father. So there is something in Arabic. I don't know if your father knows it. It says, فرخ البط عوام. Your mother knows it. Your mother will explain it to you. Okay, which means that the duckling, okay, is born with the ability to float. Okay, so the duckling is born with the ability to float. So that's what I'm saying. So we have 3 members. You're not saying no, I know that. You can say no, your father will get you in trouble. Okay, so who else? I need 2 determined young men. Do you think your brother will help you? What's your name, by the way?
Amani.
Amani. Will your brother help?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, he's giving you a dirty look.
Actually, it wasn't.
Yes? Yes? So we have 4. I need 1 more. Yeah, don't look away from me and do this. Because I think you can be good at it. If you want, okay, sure. But you are young enough to do that, right? No, the one behind you, I said young. I said young. I said me. No, honestly, is that your son? Is that your son behind you? No, okay. Would you like to do it? No. No. So bad, so upset. Look how. No, I respect that. I respect that. I need one more young man. One more young man. If not, why are you looking away from me? You know, you started looking at me and now. No. I'll talk to your father to Will you do it? No, if not, just say it's okay. Will you, because I want something to be done. And I need a digest. Who will be responsible for the digest? To say, you provide one person to type, will you give it to Amani to type?
Yeah.
Okay? We will start with the four of you. You have to meet afterwards. Okay? And this, you sounded okay, no, you will do it, inshallah. And then starting next week, starting the week after, because I know you will be at the youth conference. Okay, starting the week after, I expect a digest, inshallah. It's 2 o'clock, okay, and I'm, you know, I already told everybody that you will be coming. You know, I tell you something. If I ask you why did you decide, it's something private, but we've seen that many people are choosing the Islamic way of life for reasons we cannot really comprehend. Not because, you know, Islam is a negative and then somebody, how come? No. I mean, when great things are attacked, okay, people wonder that in this environment where people are resisting, okay, there are still people who choose to come to the fold of Islam despite all that is being said and say, you know, what is being said does not bother me. It's how I feel and the connection I established with God that really matters. Okay, so would you like to say something about your choice? If not, we respect that. But we would like to invite you that every Sunday, if you would like to come, and by the way, this is just maybe 1/5 of the size of the group that meets on Sunday at 1 o'clock, because we have had an interruption for 2 months, and now today is the first day back. So you expect, you know, more of a supportive crowd. So if you choose to come and get to feel the Islamic way of life, you are welcome to do that. Would you like to say something?
I feel as though, like, a lot of my friends have told me a lot about Islam, so I've read into it, and like every day I started getting more of a connection with Allah, and like He found me. Like just one night I realized that like this is connected with me more than ever. Like the words can't even describe the way I feel.
Okay. And you are willing to start the quest to get to know the practices, the values, and no one expects anybody to climb the stairs 5 steps at a time. Please don't do that, because if you do, you may fall back. So I give you my fatherly advice that take it 1 step at a time, okay? And as long as you are determined to reach your target, then you will make steady progress, and we are all here to help. And when your friend called, I was sitting with an older revert to Islam, and we were talking about how we are going to establish a support mechanism. So we are talking about a monthly get-together where I will just introduce a focus for that month, speaking for 5 minutes only. Then let everybody express their opinion, and I will just maneuver and direct, you know, things so that we can get to understand Islam more. Okay, So I welcome you, to your family. By the way, one thing that is challenging even for those who are born Muslim is that there are Muslims from every little corner in the world. That's a fact. And because of this, there are different cultures that come together, especially in a welcoming country like Canada, where our parents come from different countries of the world, and we do not leave our cultures at the border and come to say, we are looking. Culture is not something that you take off and you wear at leisure. Culture is something that becomes part of who we are. Therefore, in a gathering like this, you will find people who exchange habits, ideas, and that's where the challenge is, to be welcoming for each other, accepting for each other. Some people culturally use lots of movements when they talk in their hands and facial expressions. Others don't feel comfortable looking another person in the eye. Others speak with a loud voice. Others, but we've got to really accept each other. So this is the challenge culturally. And the added challenge to you and to others is to work hard to understand how to filter that which is purely religious and that which is cultural. Okay? Give you an example. Some people used to say that in Islam, women are not supposed to drive cars because in Saudi Arabia, until recently, women did not drive cars. So they said women in Islam, and they discovered that this is not the case. I mean, nobody said that women cannot drive cars, okay? So we needed to separate culture from that which is purely religious. And there are many things, and that's where we will get to understand these things as we progress, God willing. Another thing I want to say, and I say it all the time, maybe you heard your friends talk to you about Allah, okay? And you probably thought that this is the God of Muslims. By the way, Allah is an Arabic word that just simply means God, okay? So you could talk of God, okay? God has attributes, okay? But in the Quran, they are called names. Those attributes are called names because they are attributes that reach their ultimate with God, but others can share some of them. God is the ultimate generous, but there are people who are generous. God is the ultimate merciful, but there are people who are merciful to others. God is the ultimate compassionate, but there are others who... So we really need to understand these things. So God is Allah, is Dieu, is Dio, is Dios. That, I wanted to mention that. Okay? Now, to become a Muslim, you need to publicly declare that. But to become a believer, you cannot declare anything. You cannot tell how much faith I have in my heart, because this is something between me and God. But I've got to openly and publicly declare to everybody I'm a Muslim. So that's why what you will be doing now is a declaration you are a Muslim. But your faith will continue to be a private thing between you and God. Is that clear? You're comfortable with that? Okay. So I will invite you to repeat after me first with the universal Quranic language, which happened to be Arabic, okay? And then we will repeat it in English, okay? And then after you say that, I have a warning for you. I won't tell you the warning now. Or shall I tell her now? Shall I tell her now? Okay. You want to hear the warning first or later?
It doesn't matter.
You sure? Okay, because the warning is, after you will make that declaration, you know, everybody on this side of the room is going to squeeze you to, you will not be able to breathe because they want to. So be ready. If you are not ready, I don't know. Okay. So just to repeat, I will say it as clearly as possible. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulu Allah. I bear witness that there's no deity to be worshipped but God, Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God, Allah. And I bear witness that Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him, is a messenger of God. Okay. Now with that, you have declared the Shahada, which is the testimony that you are a Muslim. Congratulations. See, the first one was not a squeeze, so you were safe. But I will let everybody just get to meet you afterwards. Welcome to the fold of Islam. And inshallah, God willing, we will meet next week at 1 o'clock. And the week after, we will receive the first digest about what is happening in the world, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. I remind you to check the material on the website and the YouTube channel. And if you have any question, by the way, I have been receiving questions and I'm answering them through the website. Okay, the website is DrMunirElkassem, Dr.Munir El-Kassem .ca or .com. Okay, let's do that inshallah. And call everybody to come back inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.